Gary Johnson is having a rally today at 4. Presidential candidate Gary Johnson is having a rally at 4 today.
Doug Braff is a 19-year-old film student from NYU. When he became dissatisfied with the two main candidates for president, he decided to join the Libertarian Party and campaign on its candidate's behalf.
I felt like, you know what? I can't, in my good mind, vote for Trump or a pathological liar like Hillary. So obviously then I started considering the Libertarian Party a lot more seriously.
When the Libertarian Party was first created back in 1971, it had fewer than 4,000 supporters. Now support for the party has grown to over 4 million. The party stands for limiting government interference in personal and business decisions. It has drawn in a small percentage of minorities and some on both sides of the political spectrum who support its positions such as pro-choice, the legalization of marijuana, and gay rights. More and more people have shown support for third parties, such as the Libertarian Party and the Green Party, as an escape from the two-party system.
Libertarianism is a very, I don't know how to put it, a very race-neutral ideology. I mean, it doesn't really make an issue of identity politics. It's a very individualist philosophy.
On the other hand, Calvin Tran, another New York libertarian, says that he approves of the party's support for minority groups like the gay community.
Definitely, they put up one of the first openly gay candidates, and they've championed, or very early on, they championed minority groups and groups that were, knocked to the wayside because politics doesn't care about them.
When Donald Trump won the election, some Clinton supporters saw the margin of victory was close in certain states, such as Michigan and Wisconsin, in which Gary Johnson had over 3% of the votes. Because of this, some blame third-party supporters, like Doug Braff, for Clinton's loss. Critics say that if Gary Johnson's votes had gone to Hillary Clinton, she could have carried key states and won the election. Braff says that he has gotten negative comments on social media about his choice to support Johnson.
They'll use phrases like "you wasted your votes," "you stole a vote," and personally, I think that it's quite offensive to say that someone stole that I stole someone's vote.
They point to a past third-party candidate who they say determined a vote in a tight presidential election, Green Party candidate Ralph Nader. In 2000, people were convinced that Nader took votes from the Democratic nominee, Al Gore. Nader garnered less than 2% of the vote in Florida, but it was significant enough to tip the election in favor of George W. Bush, who won the state by only 537 votes. Charles Tien is a professor of political science at Hunter College. He says that Clinton needed a bigger turnout to win, but he is uncertain about the role of libertarian voters in her defeat.
It's possible that they reduced Trump's total numbers rather than Clinton's. The other possibility is that without Johnson in the race, maybe those voters would just have stayed home and not voted at all. So, did they make a difference? Possibly.
Political analysts say the chances of Libertarian Party supporters turning to a Democratic candidate are unlikely. While Gary Johnson and the Libertarian Party support civil liberties for gays and women and are against the death penalty, the party also calls for less foreign intervention, lower taxes, balance of the federal budget, and a reduction in government services, such as welfare and food stamps, values more in line with those of the Republican Party.
Socially inclusive. A lot of Republicans who don't like Donald Trump are willing to consider the Libertarian Party because of their positions, at least they're more conservative on the economic issues, whereas you don't see the same kind of passion from the progressives.
Bruce Cronin, a political professor at City College, says Johnson was a weak candidate because of his inability to answer fundamental policy questions.
If you actually listen to him speaking, he doesn't seem to know much in the way of public policy.
What would you do if you were elected about Aleppo?
About?
Aleppo.
And what is Aleppo?
The biggest scandal, I think, as everybody knows, is he didn't know where Aleppo was in Syria. Now, that's just something, it's not an obscure city. This has been at the focus of the Syrian civil war for quite some time.
And in the end, Gary Johnson did not receive the required 5% of all votes needed to be eligible for public matching funds in the next election campaign. But supporters like Braff remain loyal to the party.
I mean, I'm still going to be advocating libertarian causes, ending the war on drugs, no foreign interventions, you know, balancing the federal budget, all that stuff. I'm still going to be advocating for it. You know, the fight never ends.
Braff continues to have faith that maybe, just maybe, one day he will live to see the first Libertarian candidate become president, or at least be a part of the presidential debates.